Hey y'all. Have y'all ever been watching wrestling and realized so much of your life has seriously passed you by? I just had that moment just now while watching the A&E documentary with The Miz and just watching the beginning of his career and just how much of my wrestling life has just truly passed by. And watching that and also seeing the retirement announcement of John Cena really did that for me as well. Life is crazy and its journeys are crazy. But the thing that wrestling does is that it helps to put things in perspective, and it also brings back a lot of great memories that you could have had about certain moments in time. And it's just amazing how much growth happens. I just wanted to come on and say that first before we get fully started with the show. This is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape for every one of us. I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. So for those who are probably maybe new to the vibe, welcome to the show. I am the host and creator of the show, Stephanie Hardy. I'm also a writer for Daily DDT and a color commentator featured on various promotions such as the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, Spartan Wrestling, and soon to be Black Girls Wrestle in September. And if this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. And I hope that this continues to be a safe space for you to hear about the goings on of professional wrestling. And if this isn't your first time listening, thank you so much for supporting the vibe as it continues to grow, because oh my gosh, it has been growing. So yeah, I just wanted to come on and just do an episode, of course, detailing everything that has happened in this week in wrestling, as well as talking about my journey and everything that I've just done. JD in the comments on Twitch, thank you so much for watching. So for those who are watching live on this evening, thank you for watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on all the other platforms, and just continuing to support the vibe. And of course, if you can't watch it live right now, you can always go back and listen to it on all audio platforms like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and so many different places, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the logo up there. So just continue to support the vibe. So before we get into the nitty gritty of everything important that happened to the HWP brand in this past week, we do have to get into all the ins and outs of professional wrestling in news and gossipish. And so many great things have been happening, not only in wrestling as a whole, but definitely women's wrestling. And we're going to start with Willow Nightingale, friend of the pod, and lady who I have done commentary for at Black Girl Magic 2022, she has made history by becoming the first American born CMLL Women's World Champion. This championship was made vacant by Stephanie Vacour, who held the title for a very long period of time. She made it vacant because, of course, she had a very high profile signing with WWE, and she left all of her titles and all of her dates vacant when it came to New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL. So because of that, there was a triple threat match that had to happen at this event called Fantastica Mania in San Jose, California. And Willow Nightingale was in this match, as well as Viva Van and another superstar whose name escapes me right now. But Willow Nightingale wound up winning, and she is the champion. And this was so heartwarming to see, considering on the AEW side of things, she's been kind of on the losing end of certain moments, considering she did just lose her TBS title to Mercedes Moné. And then on top of that, she lost her friends. Her friend stabbed her in the back, Stokely, as well as Chris Statlander. And then she had just lost her opportunity to become a two-time Women's Owen Hart Cup winner to Mariah May. So now, in the midst of all of this, she's gone over to this promotion that works side by side with New Japan and won this title and made more history. And this is just so amazing for her, because she's just one of those people that people definitely peg as someone who could be a very, pillar, like a top star for any company that she's working for. And especially when it comes to AEW, she is one of their top female baby faces. So congratulations to Willow Nightingale for just having a spectacular year, a spectacular past 2 years in wrestling. And for you to hold this title right now, it's just so amazing. Like, she's just such a great wrestler. She's so athletic and just so bubbly and fierce. And I'm just so pumped that she is doing the dang thing. It's so great. JD in the comments saying, crazy. 3 years ago, I had never heard of Willow. Now she's everywhere where there is a wrestling mat. I know, it's so cool. I'm so happy for her. She definitely deserves it. So big ups to Willow Nightingale for winning this CMLL Women's World title. And yeah, this is her after she had won it. And she even cut a promo that she put in a video, that they put in a video package. She said, the last time I wrestled in CMLL was actually also my first week in CMLL. But do you want to know what happened when I showed up? I freaking won. I beat the current CMLL champion at that point, Stephanie Vacour. Stephanie's not here. The championship's vacant. Who's going to step up? No one else but Willow Nightingale. Duh. My spirit was actually a little broken coming in here. In AEW, my friend turned on me. I just lost my last match. I really needed a win. And today, I didn't just get a win. I walked out an international champion. And these are the things that we love so very much. So, shout out to Willow Nightingale for being a successful, incredible force in professional wrestling. We love to see it. Now, moving on, speaking of CMLL, of course, like I mentioned earlier, Stephanie Vacour had a very high profile signing with WWE after working in CMLL and New Japan for a very long period of time. A lot of people did not necessarily know that much about her in terms of on the American side, or at least the US side of wrestling. Until she fought in her match with Mercedes Moné at New Japan's Resurgence last year. That's where I learned about her from, in that tournament for the New Japan Strong Women's title. And then her and Mercedes fought again for a title match at Forbidden Door, where Mercedes Moné turned out to be the victor and is now a double champion. And after that, a lot of people speculated that Stephanie would sign with AEW. But she said, no, I'm signing with WWE actually. And she signed with them. And it was announced by Shawn Michaels on Twitter that, they were happy to have her and that we would see her in Orlando, which means that she would be coming to NXT. And NXT already has a stacked roster when it comes to its women. So the idea that they're adding her on top of Julia, on top of Kalani Jordan, on top of so many other women, it's just out of this world. And even yesterday, she had her first match in WWE at a live event in Mexico City against Isla Dawn, where she was victorious. So this is amazing. I am all for Stephanie's supremacy in wrestling. So if this is what we're getting, I am totally happy about that. Um, she is such a great example of what it means to persevere through hard times. I'm not gonna, detail that story here. Please go on there and Google it. But at the same time, she has just turned herself into a star. She even tried out for WWE before, but it just wasn't her time then. But now she has clearly made a great name for herself in terms of wrestling. And now she is with WWE. So it's just really cool to see that happen. And then she will be wrestling in Monterey as well, I believe tonight. So big ups to Stephanie Vacour for making that move for herself. And I put emphasis on for herself because a lot of people were just like, well, why didn't she sign with this person? Or why didn't she da 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 da? Well, she's making the choice for herself. And you know, us as fans on social media can get really passionate and we can get really, crazy with some of the things that we say and some of the things that we think wrestlers should do. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that these are human beings doing what's best for themselves. And Stephanie is clearly doing what is best for her. So big ups to Stephanie V. And I can't wait to see her tear the house down with all those talented women down in NXT. It's going to be cool. Also in news and gossipish, we had Io Sky actually go up against Utami Hashiashita. Forgive me if I am butchering her last name. I am not meaning to do it in a disrespectful way, but they had a Queen of Queens match at Marigold Summer Destiny this past weekend, and Io Sky turned out to be victorious. From what I heard, this match was 28 minutes and it was 28 minutes of awesomeness, and she won. And then she also came out in this mask, which is sort of like a mask that she used to wear when she was in Japan, but she came with a lot of, spectacle to her, and she wound up winning. So I think it's really cool when you have WWE wrestlers sort of mixing in with other promotions, like of course the NXT and TNA connection. I'm really pumped that this is also happening with other Japanese promotions too. So big ups to her for that. And also we had a former hold on. We had a former um NXT roster member go up against a soon to be possibly NXT roster member in Saray, going up against Julia for the first ever Marigold World Championship, in which Saray wound up winning. And this was sort of like low key, it almost felt like, I guess you could say, a passing of the guard, because Julia has been tearing the house down when it comes to Japanese women's wrestling for a long period of time. And now she is set to go to WWE. And now you have Saray, who is blazing her trail in Japanese wrestling again after having a small stint in WWE. And now she is the face of Marigold, and it's just really cool to see that happen. And for those who may not know, my listeners who may not know what Marigold Wrestling is, it's a Japanese Joshi wrestling promotion that was founded this year, but in April. It was in April of this year, and it was founded by former All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling co-producer and Stardom promoter Rossi Ogawa after he was fired from Stardom. And and there was a really crazy accusation about him, but after he left and after he denied the claim, he went on to create his own promotion, which is Marigold. And there were so many women who joined the promotion with that. So this is his baby. And actually, what's so funny is when it comes to him and Julia, she actually made an appearance at NXT Stand and Deliver in Philadelphia, and Rossi Ogawa was with her. He was sitting right by her, and he was actually outside of the Wells Fargo Arena because I actually saw him when I was in line to get in. So it was really interesting to see all these paths being crossed. So it's just really cool to see that. And for those who are watching who might not necessarily remember who Saray is, when NXT was going through its transitional phase with NXT 2.0, she sort of had this character where she was a really great wrestler, but she would only come out and pop out with her wrestling persona when she had like a certain necklace, kind of giving you low key the vibes of Sailor Moon, but this didn't necessarily rub people the right way when it came to representation of Japanese women in wrestling. They didn't like that necessarily because, of course, NXT 2.0 was very character driven at the time. And they felt like this was, kind of stereotypical and it was beneath someone like her. And she wound up not staying for as long as many people would have liked for her to stay. But either way, she is back in Japan now, and now she is the face of Marigold women's wrestling when it comes to that. So shout out to her and shout out to all those women over there that are just doing the dang thing when it comes to Joshi wrestling, because of course I am not an expert in that. I am still very much learning more about Joshi wrestling the more I hear about it, but I am respectful of it regardless because it's women's wrestling, and anytime women are succeeding in wrestling, no matter what type it is, I'm supporting it 100%. So I'm just really happy that all of this history is happening in this lifetime. Also, we have news of Natalia, who is believed to have re-signed with WWE this week. Fightful Select reported that even though she was not at this week's Monday Night Raw, the deal was already set up by then, and she hasn't been at any WWE show since the new deal. And there were talks of her contract starting in May, but she wanted to make sure that outside projects she was working on were a part of her deal and that her contract now is multi-year. And there was interest in signing her from other promotions as well, but of course now she's made her decision and she is still with WWE. So I'm glad that she is still with them because it just seems like she has built sort of like she's become an institution of women's wrestling when it comes to that. And then when you think about where she started, not only just as a Heart Foundation woman, well, not as a Heart Foundation woman, but as a graduate of the dungeon with the Hart family and stuff, and how she came through during a time of which women's wrestling wasn't taken as seriously, but yet still finding her way. And now, with that type of wrestling being fully respected now in WWE, she is definitely a pioneer in that. So the idea of her, if she left, there's a wealth of knowledge that will go with her, and it would be amazing if any other company had that. But now that WWE has it with so many, newer girls coming in and finding their way and cutting their teeth, she gets to sort of, help them while also upbuilding her career as well. So big ups to Natalia. I did miss seeing her on the card for Money in the Bank, simply because it was in Canada and it just felt weird to not have her being a Canadian staple of women's wrestling not be there. But it's okay, there was stuff going on behind the scenes, and that is definitely valid. So big ups to Natalia for that, and she'll always be respected by me. Also, speaking of more Canadian women's wrestling, Chelsea Green was featured on the Ringer Wrestling Show, or not the Ringer Wrestling Show, their network, the Ringer Wrestling Show's Masked Man show with Kaz and with David Shoemaker. And they were asking her about the possibility of mid-card women's titles, and she was quoted as to saying, first of all, I don't know that it's been confirmed because I don't know it. I only saw it on the internet. Whatever you guys are reading, I'm also reading too. I mean, of course, I'm hoping and praying that's true because any more kind of spotlights that the women can get would be amazing. Again, it's just another step in the right direction. I didn't even think this could happen 2 years ago. And then now I'm like, yeah, of course it's happening. It has to happen now that it's on the internet. Um, so yeah, I, wait, hold on. There's more to it. Obviously, I think it would be amazing to showcase the women that could be the champions in the future, but maybe we don't see them in that light right now. Maybe we see them as kind of floaters, or maybe they haven't locked down their character. Maybe they're in a funny girl, maybe me. There's all these women that I just feel like we have so much talent and we're not able to showcase it all the time. And so putting another title in the mix, I think would just up the ante for that kind of mid-level girl who we know can elevate them and we know they can get there. So, um, hearing this and also seeing the pictures that people were posting of what a mid-card women's title could look like from the United States perspective or from the intercontinental perspective, this excited me because I feel like these rumors have been sort of floating around for a long period of time anyway, but I definitely am of the notion that the women's divisions in WWE could definitely use more mid card titles because as you can see with NXT, you know, they have the NXT women's title, and at one point they did have the tag titles, but then they got rid of those and combined them with the women's tag team titles. And then they brought in the NXT women's North American title, and that is clearly giving other women who aren't necessarily trying to feud with Roxanne right now something else to sort of strive for, to prove that they can be, you know, a mid champion while also working up to the top. And I feel like Raw and SmackDown could definitely benefit from having a mid card title in that way as well, because every woman is not meant to be, you know, in the tag team picture with somebody else, like Chelsea is with Piper Niven, or like Team KC Squared with Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Everyone is not meant for that. So if you give, you know, if you create a mid card title like the women's IC or like the women's US or Universal or something like that, it would give women like Zelina Vega, or like Zoe Stark, or like Chelsea Green, or Candice LeRae or Indy Hartwell another chance to go for something that doesn't just have to be in the main title picture with the women's world title and the women's championship over on SmackDown. I am definitely here for a mid-card title. So if they do it, then I am all for it. And anything that gives these women more opportunities to show themselves and more stories to propel the women's, you know, women's wrestling movement forward, I am definitely here for it. Eric in the comments saying, hey, Vaughn saying, hey, and also saying Steffi time is greater than Tiffy time. We'll get to that. And thank you for the compliment on my hair. Shout out to Alexis, my best friend, for doing my hair. But yeah, I'm definitely here for women's mid card titles, and I do hope that it's gonna happen at some point because these women deserve something to work for other than just the other big titles and then being thrown together in a tag team that they weren't previously in just for that. Like, give us more. Give the women more to fight for. I'm definitely here for it. Now, moving into more news and gossipish, John Cena, who I will talk a little bit more about later, has um they have WWE has been working out John Cena's schedule in light of him announcing that next year will be his final year as an active in-ring competitor, and he will be retiring. And ever since he announced it, you know, everyone has been speculating, well, when could he have a match? When is this going to happen? Blase, blase, blah. But it's been reported that now WWE is trying to work out and carve out his schedule because, you know, not only is he a wrestler, he's also an actor, a very high profile actor, and he's currently filming Peacemaker season 2, which made a lot of people happy when he mentioned that at the press conference at Money in the Bank. And there's also other things that he's got coming down the pipe, I'm sure. So now they're just trying to figure everything out. And I cannot believe we are at this point where we're talking about his last matches, but I'll talk more about how that announcement made me feel in the moment a little bit later as we get into the rest of the show. And last but certainly not least, we have news on Ricochet, or the man formerly known as Ricochet, because I do not know if he will be continued to be referred to as Ricochet now that he is no longer with WWE. It has been reported by Fightful Select that it is expected that he will be signing with AEW, because of course his contract was up on July 1st at midnight and he was contractually unable to appear at AEW New Japan Forbidden Door as a result, and that he is expected to debut in the company soon, and that his agent was actually backstage at AEW this week, and Fightful Select had been told that the leading subsequent talks have been going on between the two sides, and that he represents a number of his agent represents a number of talent across WWE and AEW. So I feel like if Ricochet, or the man formerly known as Ricochet, wants to go over to AEW and sort of plant seeds for him to have another match with Will Ospreay, or mix it up with the other talent over there, then by all means, lead the way and do that. And I hope that he's doing what's best for him at this point, because it seemed like in WWE he had basically done um everything that he could possibly do. He was an IC champion, he was a North American champion in NXT. He really did, a fantastic job. He was recently a WWE Speed champion, and yeah, he really did pretty well for himself. And of course, he did even more well for himself when he fell in love with Samantha Irvin, the ring announcer, and now they're engaged, and I can't wait to see their wedding stuff. But at the same time, you know, he might just need to make this move for himself, and I'm definitely here for it. I just can't wait to see, what iteration of this man are we going to get, because he's been Ricochet for so very long that it's almost hard to imagine him as anything else. I know a long time ago he was Prince Puma, but nobody knows if he's going to go back to that, but we just have to wait and see. But here's hoping that he's just doing the very best he can for himself. Vaughn in the comments saying Rick O'Shea versus Will Ocean Spray. Yeah, but it's gonna be a good match either way if that's where he's going. It's gonna be cool, so I'm really excited about that. So that's all for news and gossipish, and now we're gonna move to a special segment where I'm gonna talk about my trip to Canada. So, a special moment happened in the world of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast as a independent media company, entity, as I guess you could say an entity, not really a company. But either way, a special opportunity happened when I was accepted to be a part of media for WWE's PLE Money in the Bank. This was an amazing opportunity, and this was something that I sort of set in my mind. This was something that I know I really wanted to do. Ever since I was watching PLEs, and with WWE sort of being under new leadership, and just watching so many people that I knew and didn't know on the internet, have these opportunities and stuff, I just felt that, well, maybe I could do this too, because of course previously, in a publication that I used to work for, Women's Wrestling Talk, I had done media before, but it was like for one event, and it was for NWA Empower in 2021, and that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Even though I hadn't done media before in that way. I was super nervous, but I did the very best I could, and just being a part of something like that and asking questions of some of the wrestling superstars who were there, especially for women's wrestling at that point in time, just meant the world to me. So when WWE started to open itself up to people like me, like influencers and other wrestling media publications in that way, I feel, you know what? I feel like I can do that too. But there was always like other stuff or life stuff that would just get in the way somehow. And it was just like, okay, so when am I going to be able to do this? And finally, I was able to do it this last weekend. And when I tell you it was a time, it was a time. Of course, I posted this picture of me, walking into the airport where the sign said Canada and there were the flags and everything. And of course, right next to that picture, if you're watching, there's the Scotiabank Arena that has the Canadian flag all over it. And it was just such a surreal experience because I had not been out of the country in 10 years. Like the last time I went out of the country was for study abroad um, to Ghana, West Africa, which is where Kofi Kingston is originally from. I was happy to be there for a month. And that was really the last time I had been abroad. I hadn't really left the country since. So preparing for this was amazing and also kind of stressful, but at the same time, it was definitely worth it because I just knew I just had to do it, and everything aligned perfectly for me to be able to do it, and I'm just so grateful. Toronto is a beautiful city. It kind of puts you in the mind of New York while also at the same time having its homey parts where it's very relaxed and very chill. And it's also very diverse. Like there were so many types of people and so many languages being spoken all throughout Toronto. It was just an amazing experience just to be around, all of the atmosphere of what was going on, not only just in wrestling, but just as a whole in terms of just life. Like it was just interesting to see all the parts that are almost even just like the United States. I was thrilled when I saw a cheesecake factory in Toronto when I passed by it. I was just like, they had McDonald's, they had all the regular stuff that we have here in the US, but then of course they also have their own things as well. Like I fell in love with Tim Hortons. Like I love that restaurant and I want more of them in the United States. It was just really an amazing experience. It was a very peaceful experience. I took the bus to a lot of places. It was just really, really cool. I loved being there. And of course, if you're watching, this is the picture of the Toronto sign that they did keep showing on different WWE programming next to a little bit of a pond, a man-made pond that they have right there in the park. It was really beautiful at night. And then there's the CN Tower that they kept showing as well. The downtown area was very busy and just really cool to be a part of. And it definitely puts you in the mind of New York, except it's Canadian. But it was just really cool. I enjoyed being there very much. So, y'all, um I have to talk about not only just being in the city, but I also have to talk about what it was like to be a part of media at the stuff. So when I was there at the launch pad for MLSE, which is kind of sort of like a community center that they had, WWE was having a community event, and that's what we were doing media for. And just being there was nerve wracking. I was so nervous. I was, just trying to find my way there, trying not to get lost, trying to be on time, and all of the above. And once I got there, I was just so nervous, but I started to feel a certain level of calm once I started seeing people that I knew, like Adrian Hernandez, from Adrian Radio. Shout out to him, and DS Shin, and shout out to him. Happy birthday, happy belated birthday to him. When I started seeing people that I knew, like Emily May, that's when I started to relax just a little bit more, but I was still very nervous because it was just my first time interviewing or being in a place like this where I'm being, allowed to interview WWE superstars. But I just, had to remember what my mom would always tell me, which is to utilize my nerves and help it to propel me forward. And that's just what I was trying to do. And I just did my best, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was just standing there for a second or just sitting there for a second, just looking like, man, like this is really it. And I had all my questions prepared. I had written everything down. I had my notebook with me. And I even made a new friend who's a photographer in Toronto named Keems. I want to thank her so much publicly for helping me that entire day. Having just met me that day, she was taking pictures and helping me record on my phone and everything. Like, thank you so much. Cause I was just by myself. I don't have a staff. I host the show and produce the show all on my own. So the fact that, I just met Keems that day and she was so helpful to me just meant the world to me. Like, I am very grateful and hopefully one day we'll see each other again. But she took pictures, she helped me record, and everything went as about as great as it could have gone. When it was time for us to interview, the first person I interviewed was actually Carmelo Hayes, the former NXT champion, NXT North American champion, and all the things, him. And, he was saying hi to everyone and he hugged me and he asked me what my name was. And I said, my name is Stephanie Hardy. And he was like, I know you. And I was like, what? my brain my brain just shut down for about 2.5 seconds because I know I share my work a whole lot, online, but you just really never know who's watching, right? And because I be in the grind of, getting my work out there and stuff, I don't think, not that many people are really looking at it like that. So the idea that he was actually like, yeah, I know you, I was like, yo, what? Like, it was just so cool. So getting to interview with him, he was so nice. He was so great. And just some of the questions I had, I tried to keep it within time. It was just so great, to be and have a conversation with him. And even if you watch that video, which is available on my YouTube channel, if you watch that video, he actually called me her. And I was just like, I couldn't, I just couldn't deal with it. I was just like, excuse me. Vaughn is saying, did you almost pass out or hyperventilate? I did not because I maintained composure. I was excited, but I kept it inside because you have to be professional as a media person. So I maintained, but trust me, in my brain, I was just like, yo, what? But it was such an honor to be able to talk to him because he's someone who is just so talented and he's just so driven for success. And he's just so, and one of the greatest things that I love about Carmelo Hayes is that he speaks things as though they already are. And that is just a level of faith that I aspire to so much so. And I wish I could have had time to tell him that. But you got to be professional and move and all that other stuff. But honey, just being able to even just be side by side with him, like that was a dream come true. Like I've written about him, like he and Trick were the first two men that I ever wrote about in my wrestling writing career. So just being able to interview him and even just share that space with him and to know that he knows my work just made me feel so good inside. Like I just couldn't believe it. And then of course, as you can see in this picture, I got to interview Miss Money in the Bank herself, Tiffany Stratton. This was amazing. This was really amazing. I just couldn't believe that she was there and just getting to talk to her a little bit, like she and I just really had a fun time this weekend because we just had like two different interactions. And of course, I'll get into the other interaction later, but just getting to interview with her was really cool. She was really, engaging for me. Like I really just appreciated getting to talk to her and just asking her about her journey and how she's acclimating to SmackDown, coming from NXT, just like Carmelo and stuff. Like it was cool to talk to her about that. It was just really amazing, just to have that experience of talking to her and just being a woman, wrestling creator and getting to talk to her as well. It was just really great. She's someone who is very talented and she's just really magnetic in that way. And what's so funny is it's just the thing that I love the most about her trajectory is it's like she clearly has this character where she's a mean girl, but yet people love her. And it's just so funny. I'm just like, bro, like, do we just like punishment? Do we just like being treated wrong? But you know, when you have it, you just have it. And Tiffany clearly has it. And in the moment, I did not like it always stuck in my head that the person you might be interviewing could be the person that wins, you know. And for all I knew, Carmelo could have been Mr. Money in the Bank that next day, or Tiffany could have been Miss Money in the Bank that next day. And as it turns out, you know, Tiffany won. And that was just really amazing. So for the rest of my life, I get to say that I interviewed and had a moment with Miss Money in the Bank before it was set to happen. And she was definitely believing in herself during our time together. And as it stands now, the interview that I had with Tiffany on the YouTube channel is at 2,000 views, which is the most, which now is the most viewed video in Hardy Wrestling Podcast history, right next to the Mercedes Monet versus Kyrie Sane extra episode that I did. And I am so grateful for everyone who viewed that interview. I'm so grateful for you, and I hope that you continue on this ride with me and on this trajectory with me. But thank you guys so much for supporting that and for sharing it, because I saw lots of people sharing it on Instagram as well as Facebook. Thank you guys so much for that. I'm really happy with how it turned out, even though a part of me was just like, oh my God, maybe I should have done. But I can't second guess myself, because number one, it was my first time. And number two, I was just really happy to have the opportunity. So, you know, thank you guys so much for that. And just getting to interview, and then and in the end I got to ask one question to Chelsea Green, and that one I believe is at 1,000 views as well. So you know, the views are rising, the views are viewing, and I'm really happy about that. And then I also got to ask a question to LA Knight, who noticed that Paul Bearer was on my t-shirt, and he actually said that at one point Paul Bearer was one of his managers. And I told him, well, that's amazing because Paul Bearer is from Alabama like me. But we didn't get to talk about it that long because, of course, you know, these are WWE superstars and their schedules are scheduling. So they have to get out. But I was just really happy to share the little bit of time that I had with them. I'm just really, really grateful. And I'm hopeful that, you know, and I'm hoping that one day, you know, I'll get to do it again. Being a part of Media Day with all of these people, like I hope I get to do something like that again in the future. I was just so happy and so thrilled. And once I posted all the videos, my dad and my mom watched them after I sent it to them, and my dad cried. Like it was just such a big deal. And I have to make the screen bigger for this because my dad, you know, got me into wrestling. And if you've listened to past episodes of the show, you know that I got into it because of my dad. And a running joke that me and my dad have with each other back and forth is every time I do an interview with someone, whether they're a wrestler or a personality in wrestling or manager or referee or whatever, he would always ask me, well, whenever I would tell dad, like, I just got through with an interview, and he'll be like, oh, did you interview Nia Jax? Did you interview Carmelo Hayes? Did you interview this person? Did you interview The Rock? Did you interview this person? And then I would say, no, dad, I haven't interviewed, you know, this big famous person yet, but I did interview this person. And that's been our running joke since I started the podcast. So the idea that now, um, the idea that now I've gotten and worked up to the point where I have interviewed these people that he would probably mention in a joking manner, and it's actually happened. It's almost like he was speaking it into existence. Like, you know, even though you're interviewing so many other beautiful people in and out of wrestling, there's the possibility that you could interview, you know, any of these WWE superstars that we watch on TV all the time. So the idea that I was able to send him these videos, and he saw me standing right next to these people, he was crying. You know, he had to go out on the porch and cry to himself, because he's a very old school man, so he doesn't necessarily like people seeing him cry. But you know, just the idea that he was crying about it was just like so great. And then my mom was just yelling and just saying, "That's my baby," you know. So it was just amazing to have that opportunity and to be able to give something like that to my family, you know, knowing that we've been watching wrestling for such a long time. My mom is kind of a in and out fan. My dad is a diehard. I'm a diehard. My sister was a diehard, but she still gets it. So the idea of, being able to share that was just such an amazing thing. Vaughn saying shout out to Mr. Hardy. Yeah, shout out to him. Dion Trey, thank you for watching, saying manifestation is real. I'm so happy for you. Thank you so much, Dion Trey. So yeah, like this was just so huge. And I'm just really grateful to WWE for allow me to have this opportunity, and hopefully, in the future we can continue to make that happen. Vaughn saying an interview with number one on the BRP 50. I know I wanted to mention that to him so bad, but here again, time, but it's okay. It's amazing, right? Like, and what's so funny is I knew he was going to be number one on the BRP 50 because of course Bianca was number one for 2 years in a row. Shout out to Black Wrestling. But I felt like once Carmelo won the NXT title, and then when he was able to go on Raw and fight Finn, and then when he showed up on SmackDown and just doing all the stuff, and he kept fighting everybody and beating Baron Corbin and all those people, I knew he was going to be number one, like from jump. I just knew it. And when he was number one, I was like, yes. So, yes. This is a Carmelo Hayes stan account. So yeah, let me finish talking about this trip though. So after media day, we got to go to SmackDown, and that was an amazing show because we got to witness DIY win the tag team titles off of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, A Town Down Under. I got to see Jade and Bianca live. That was so wonderful because I'm just gonna be I just love them forever. It was amazing to see lots of stuff live and just being at that SmackDown, because usually, outside of the realms of media, I'm only ever at one SmackDown a year because they come to Birmingham, just all the time. So the idea of going to another SmackDown, and it's like I'm a blue brand girl, being able to go to another SmackDown just meant a lot. And then being able to go to another country was just really cool too. And the crowd in Toronto was just pretty much lit for most of both shows, I believe. But there was one point where they weren't as excited with one of the women's matches, which made me sad. Which was Bailey and Piper. They weren't as excited about that, and they even started doing the wave during it. And I was just like, but other than that, the crowd was pretty cool for most of it. And in this picture, this is Money in the Bank, and just being there at such a historic pay-per-view was just amazing. Like I just being present for so many different moments that happened throughout the entire pay-per-view was just really sick. Like the men's Money in the Bank match was out of this world. And this was hard for me to predict. Like I know I had planned a prediction show, but I was in the midst of preparing to go, so I'm sorry I didn't do one. But this was probably the hardest to predict when it came to, predicting who could win, because this match was so stacked between Andrade, between Carmelo and Jay Uso and LA Knight and Chad Gable and then Drew McIntyre. Like that match was so stacked, and and just being able to watch Andrade and Carmelo essentially show out the way they did in person was just sick. Like I couldn't believe what my eyes were witnessing. I just, whoa, like, excuse me. They were really like tearing the house down. And there were just so many moments where any person really could have just reached up and got the thing and could have won. But ultimately it wound up being Drew McIntyre. And I wasn't too angry about Drew McIntyre winning like a lot of people were after the fact, or at least like I saw a lot of people were anyway after. I wasn't angry about it because a part of me just had a feeling. Well, he said like earlier in the day, or at least a few days before Money in the Bank, that he was gonna cash it in. So I was just like, okay, so he gonna try and cash it in, and stuff happened. And and I wasn't too angry about it, when it happened. And then another nerdy reason why I wasn't too angry about him cashing in is because usually we see women on the women's side of things, we see the women like cash in like the night of. So the idea that creatively they switched it over and had a man cash in the night of, and now we have Tiffany who could very well hold it for a long period of time, that made me happy. And I just liked the switcheroo with that. So I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm okay with this because I'm ready for a woman to hold it for a longer period of time because clearly, because even as of now, the woman who has held it for the longest period of time is still Carmella, and she has actually held it longer than any man or woman. So if Tiffany, wants to do that, then that's perfectly fine. So Drew cashing in, that wasn't something that I was too kerfuffled about. But I do respect everybody's opinion though, because there were a lot of people who had very strong feelings, like Vaughn in the comments saying Drew is impulsive. Yeah, that was a very impulsive decision, but he has something to prove out here in these streets. So that's why he did what he did, but it didn't wind up working in his favor, did it? Ouch. But yeah, the women's match, I thought this was about to main event when I was there. I was just like, is this about to main event? Because I knew the men had went first, and a part of me was just like, bro, if the women's ladder match is about to main event, that could possibly mean that Chelsea would win. And I would have loved it for Chelsea if she had won, because she did tell me some of her plans to add prestige to the Money in the Bank briefcase if she had won it. And she said she wanted to bring back the Divas title and decorate it and stuff like that. So that was cool. So if she had won in Canada, that would have been lit as F. But she did wind up stealing the show with a lot of her antics. She was afraid of heights the entire time, which they also did show when her and Kathy Kelly climbed up the CN Tower. She was afraid of heights, and she kept that going even until she got knocked down by Tiffany Stratton into the tables, and Tiffany was waving at her, and I was just like, dang, Tiffany, you savage. But of course, you also had Naomi a split, and then she hit a DDT to Zoe Stark while she was still in that split with the ladders, and I was just like, yo, stop playing on Naomi's top. Okay, I'm gonna need for y'all to stop playing on her top right now, because she is still an icon, and she can still match up with the best of them. Now, mind you, she might not be a champion like she once was last year in TNA or whatever, but she is still very much that girl. And I am so happy that she had that moment. And then she went on, of course, on SmackDown to win against Blair Davenport. And even though she might not have a title right now, she is still very much solidifying herself as that girl. And I just love that for her. I really love that she had that moment. She did a phenomenal job. And then, of course, Zoe took a lot of punishment from Io Sky hitting, like, oh my God, hitting that Michinoku driver onto her. Like, that was sick to experience. Like, my brain just still can't comprehend the idea that she literally just wham. And I was just like, is she okay? I almost thought, like, at one point, like, she wasn't going to get back up, but somehow she did. And then she wrestled again in a brawl on Monday. Like, these women are amazing. Women's wrestlers are so amazing. Like, they all are, but women, oh my God, just women. I just, ah, we're just so amazing. That ladder match was fantastic, but of course Tiffany Stratton wound up winning. And yeah, that's really cool. I'm happy that she won, because of course she's a newer star, and she could definitely utilize that to her advantage, because of course she can be really crafty with it. She can dangle it in your face and be like, ha ha, it doesn't matter because I got the case. It's really cool that she has it. It's definitely Tiffy time. And she said she was going to be Miss Tiffy in the Bank, and that's exactly what she is. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. So, but that ladder match, both ladder matches were fantastic. I have no notes. All of the chaos was chaosing. It was just great. And now, of course, we get to the press conference where we have John Cena leading it off. And when I tell you, being in this room was definitely something else that was a dream of mine and a goal of mine as well. I couldn't even believe it really. Like I was in the room and this was it. And I was on the second row and I just couldn't believe it because of course, now they're not just doing it as a press conference, they're doing a post show. So they're interweaving all of these things for the viewers while the stuff is going on for us. And so being in this room just sort of just meant the world to me, number one. And just number two, just being at the press conference after John Cena made probably one of the most high profile announcements of his career was just really sick for me. Like when he announced that he was going to retire next year, my heart sank. It sank because when he started his career, I was maybe about 8 or 9 years old. Um, and him as the rapper really just did it for me. Like, I can't explain why it did it for me, but it just did. And I just thought it was the coolest thing at that point that he was just dissing people with raps and dressing up in these jerseys, basically just dressing up as what hip hop looked like at that time. And then, of course, hip hop and rap was still very new to me, as a sheltered Christian school church kid. I'm still trying to figure all of this out. And then you're watching wrestling and then you see this guy, this white guy at that, being a rapper dude, and it was just like, okay, this was really cool for me. I just liked him. And I loved him all the same the more his star rose. Like, I can't tell you how happy I was when he wound up beating JBL, because him and JBL had a beef that was just out of this world. And JBL was always looking down on him, and there was even one really bad moment where he was talking about his mama. And I was just like, look, John, I'm gonna need for you to get real buck and beat his butt. And that's what he did at WrestleMania 21. He beat him for that title. It was just like, I remember stuff like that. I remember um when John Cena's first movie, The Marine, came out, and how me and my dad went to go see that because I love John Cena. And at one point, I wanted to marry John Cena. Like, I really did. I thought John Cena was one of the finest men I had ever seen in my life. Once I had seen that movie, I was just like, yo, like, but clearly life had other plans. But either way, like, John Cena is somebody that has just been carried over into my life for all these years, for over 20 years now. And then to even make it crazier was when I posted my pictures, my sister saw it and she was just like, "So John Cena's retiring?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was just like, "He raised me. Are you kidding?" Yeah, it's really hitting people hard. And when he debuted, like, my sister was a baby. Like, my sister was a full-on baby when John Cena started his career, and now she's 22, about to be 23 years old. Like, that's to put everything into perspective. That's the entirety of my sister's life and 20 years of mine. Like, that's insane to think about. But he's getting ready to retire, and all of those memories were just coming back into my head after he announced it. And all I could do was just feel grateful. Now, mind you, in the press conference, everybody and their mama was asking all these rapid fire questions because he wanted to answer everyone's questions, and it was just kind of like pandemonium in there. But he actually answered a question that someone else had about a freestyle, because I was going to ask him, like, would you record another album? He was like, look, I'm 47 years old. I'm not doing it no more. But it's okay. I was just happy to be in the room for that moment because it was just, to see someone's career rise like that, and then for it to end on his terms and him to announce that it was about to end on his terms was just a beautiful thing. So whatever comes next is whatever comes next. I'm here for the ride, but I do just want to say thank you to John Cena because he gave his all to so many people, so many children, so many adults, even when people were booing him like crazy, especially at that time at ECW's One Night Stand when he was fighting RVD. Like, when people were booing him and felt like he was just being fed everything because of the whole Super Cena thing, he was still out here doing what he wanted to do and doing what he was motivated to do. And that's not easy. So I'm grateful. I'm very much grateful to have lived in a timeline where a John Cena could rise up and exist in wrestling. And I'm even more grateful that now I'm getting to see it wrap up in a hopefully beautiful way. So I'm really grateful. Vaughn in the comments saying John Cena is an icon. Absolutely. And he also says it's a beautiful thing for Cena not to disgrace himself like certain legends from the 80s. Look, I'm going to leave that alone. But I I do see your point. But yeah, John Cena, thank you so much for just being yourself and just, sharing all your gifts with us wrestling fans, and whatever comes next, I just hope you feel good about it. And wrestle Carmelo Hayes while you're at it. But, we're just going to move on. Also another great part about being in a press conference is also sharing the same room and the same air with CM Punk and his donuts. He was right in front of me, talking about everything that had happened with him and Drew McIntyre and everything. And it was just really surreal. So that was amazing. And I'm just really grateful for that. And then on top of that, it's very full circle because I was at Survivor Series last November when he made his surprise return to WWE. So the idea of seeing his return in Chicago and then being in the same room as him for this press conference at this pay-per-view, which he sort of helped solidify as a legendary pay-per-view with him winning the WWE title from John Cena, um and then running away with that title then was just insane. All of it is crazy. All of it is crazy. And I'm just really grateful for that. And then, of course, we have the best moment, personally, to me here.
Point over here.
Hi, Tiffany. Stephanie Hardy of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and Daily DDT. Congratulations on becoming Miss Money in the Bank. If you had to cash in on Nia Jax come SummerSlam, would you be willing to do that? Or are you willing to keep your alliance with her as the Queen of the Ring as you matriculate as Miss Money in the Bank?
That's a good.
Yeah. I got called upon. I got to ask Tiffany Stratton a question after she won the Money in the Bank briefcase. And of course, if you did watch that press conference, you saw her answer to that question. There were so many great questions that people had all around. Everyone just had amazing questions. But, I just wanted to ask her, like, do you want to maintain your alliance with Nia, or would you be willing to throw that away to become the champion? And she really did give a good answer, and I'm really glad that she said that that was a good question. So hey, I am just so grateful that I was called upon, to ask a question. I'm really happy that people heard my voice. When it was happening, and all of your messages, for those who did message me and for those who did tag me on Twitter and all of the above, thank you guys so much. I was so happy to get a question in that way. And when I was grabbing the microphone, I thought that they were going to let you do that, but they were just handing the microphone to people and just letting them speak into it. And I just want to take this moment to publicly apologize to Kasama. I am so sorry. I just grabbed the microphone like that was I did not know. Please, I did not know. But yeah, I'm so happy to have gotten a question to ask Tiffany in that way. So me and Tiffany just had ourselves a great weekend with each other. So hopefully somewhere down the line, me and her can have another interview, have another interaction. But either way, I am so grateful that that happened, and I'm so grateful that um I had that opportunity, and I'm so grateful to even share the space with the other journalists in that room. Like, I just can't even believe it. Like, I'm just so happy. Like, WrestleNomics was in there, Chris Van Vliet was in there. Like, there were just so many amazing people in there. I just feel so blessed. I really do just feel really blessed. So yeah. um if I think about it anymore or talk about it anymore, um well, actually, there is more I do have to say about the opportunity. I am just, I know I keep saying it, I am just really grateful to have had that opportunity to go there and to just be a part of media there and just be sitting with so many great people who have worked or who have been working in media for such a long period of time. There were even journalism students there, or people who've gotten degrees, in journalism who were there. So, the idea, that someone like me who only just started doing this 4 years ago and only not really even having so much of a clue as to what to do in terms of doing that by just outside of just speaking into my speakerphone and just having it evolve into this, it's just so huge. And I feel really good about it, and I also just feel like there's still so much more that I want to do and want to accomplish as well. But this definitely just gave me a feeling of, yeah, girl, you did that. And I'm just really happy about it. And to be a Black woman in wrestling media and to be a part of something like that meant the world to me too. And I'm just really grateful for Krista B and Queen PR from Those Wrestling Girls for being the first two Black girls I saw doing something like that, and Stephanie Hypes being there as well before me, as well as Nikki Bougie, her being at a press conference too, like, and even Wilkins being a Black man, people who I know and love who were there previously in events before. Thank you for being there, because you gave me the courage to actually want to be there. For Cam Seahawk from South Congress in Texas, thank you so much, for being in these spaces firsthand so I can know that I can do it. Like, I'm just really grateful for all of these Black people in, wrestling media who have been there, so I know I could have a place there. And I hope that more of us can be in that space at a time, and not just so few of us. um but yeah, just being there and being a representative with my own brand that has my name on it just really meant the world to me. And I just hope that somewhere down the line I will be able to do it again and be able to inspire others to do it as well. And yeah, Vaughn, if they could do it, I can do it. Yes, you can do it too. Everyone, like, if you're in media and if you're wanting to start something, this is my encouragement. Please do it, because you just never know where it can take you. Like, if you had told me years ago that I was going to start a thing and be in the same room with people that I watch on television on a regular basis, I would look at you like you were crazy. So, yeah, I'm just really happy that this happened to me. And I'm grateful that it happened to me. I'm grateful for the way that the trip went. And I'm grateful to be back home. To continue working and continuing to be a safe space in wrestling for as long as I possibly can, and just doing the work that it takes to be a positive force in wrestling media. So, with that being said, that's the end of my special segment of talking about my time at Money in the Bank Media. And now we're moving into what I liked in wrestling this week, which was a heck of a lot. Um, First of all, I want to say big ups to Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka for having one of the best women's matches that entire weekend at NXT Heatwave for the NXT Women's North American title. These women tore the house down. Um, with both of their gymnastics background, I just felt like this was going to be a feast for the eyes, and that is exactly what it was. But along with it being a feast for the eyes, they were definitely hitting each other and just giving each other the best that they had. And I am just so happy to have witnessed these two, really just tearing it down. Then on top of that, with both of these young women being black women as well, like it was just so great to watch them tear it down for this title. And the fact that Kalani defended this at her very first PLE as champion was just really cool too. And also her boo was at his first main roster PLE as well. So they both essentially made history that weekend. And congratulations to Kalani for retaining that title. And to all of y'all who said that that wasn't a real wrestling match and said that it wasn't, great, shut your mouth and stop speaking on women of color in wrestling. And that's all I have to say about that. This match was fantastic. Um, yeah, Mello don't miss and neither does his girl, period. And he don't play about her either. So yeah, there was that. And I think I placed these pictures in the wrong place, so we're gonna keep going. When it comes to Raw's women, I really loved the official formation of the group that Sonya Deville has started with Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. It was definitely giving Absolution 2.0, and that's my working title for it. I don't know what title they're gonna have for their um faction as of yet, but I really do love that they are officially together as a faction, and I am glad that Sonya Deville is back because she was gone for a long period of time, and I just wasn't sure, if she was like, is she gonna like stay in wrestling? Like, what is she doing? But I am glad that she has returned, and now she's sort of paying it forward with her leadership, and I just think it's funny that now she's leading a 3-woman faction when she actually made her debut in a 3-woman faction when it came to Saraya / Paige and Mandy Sachs / Mandy Rose as Absolution. That point of women's wrestling history kind of stuck with me when I saw Sonya standing there with Zoe and Shayna. I was just like, this is so ironic that this is what you're doing when you came in with a 3-woman group. But yeah, it's just really cool how that's happening, and I'm glad that she is a leader and isn't necessarily wreaking havoc as a corporate leader, but just more as a faction leader. I'm definitely here for it. Another thing that I'm here for is the return of Rhea Ripley coming back to destroy Liv Morgan and possibly destroying Dom in the process. Because if it's one thing that low-key that really was getting on my nerves, it was Demon Time Liv always trying to pop up on Dominic and flirt with him and all of the above. And when they won that tag team match, she was all up over him, wrapping her legs around him, looking like she was about to kiss him. It was starting to look real bad for your boy. But when that music hit and it was This Is My Brutality, I was still in the airport watching this. And when I tell you I was yelling, I was like, yes! I was so ready for it. I was so here for mommy coming back, okay? Because I just can't even, it was just so funny. But then the funniest part for me was watching Liv run away from Rhea Ripley. I was like, what you running for? Demon Time Liv, why are you running? You've literally been trying to bait Rhea Ripley into coming at you for the past couple of weeks. And now that Rhea is finally here, you want to run away? No, stand in it. Standing in front of her face the same way you were standing and flirting with her man. Stand on it. But nope, she didn't stand on it. She ran. And it was just really hysterical. Vaughn in the comments saying, Cheaters WWE edition. You ain't lying because, baby, The way that they were looking mad guilty. It was hilarious. Shout out to Stephanie Hypes for kicking off those cheaters memes. Exactly. Those were so funny. Those had me cackling. He said, like Kendrick said, everybody want to be demon until they get chipped. Till they clipped. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's my song. Shout out to Euphoria. But yeah, it was hysterical. Now, hopefully, this means that Rhea will get everything back on track. But even if nothing gets back on track, I want her to kick Dominic's head off and kick Liv's head off, okay? Because she said when she had to give up that title that whoever is holding it, I'm coming back for blood. Get it back in blood, Rhea. Get it back in blood. I am on her side. I am Team Rhea. Okay? Team Rhea. So, yes, I love this. Another thing I loved on Raw when it comes to the men was the segment involving CM Punk and Seth Rollins. CM Punk was cutting his promo and he was talking about how actions have consequences in terms of what Drew McIntyre had been doing to him. And when it comes to that, I am definitely Team CM Punk here because you just can't keep messing with somebody over and over again and antagonizing somebody and thinking they ain't gonna do nothing to you. And that's exactly what Drew keeps doing. It's like Drew low key is acting like a narcissist. It's just like when it's like they can keep saying stuff to you, but then the minute you hit them back with the same energy, they want to act like you wrong. And no, CM Punk isn't wrong, sweetheart. Like you're focusing so hard on him and he's not even giving you half of that energy. And then, and then when he comes back at you, you want to get mad. No, CM Punk is definitely on Kendrick time where he was just like, look, if you take it there, I'm taking it further. And that's something you don't want to do. And because of that, Drew McIntyre is not the champion like he cashed in for. And sadly, Seth Rollins, as it stands now, can't challenge for the World Heavyweight title as long as Damian Priest has it because of CM Punk. And they were kind of having an apology, but then it wasn't an apology anymore. So there's just a lot of hatred. There's a lot of beef and a lot of hatred when it comes to CM Punk and Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. I don't know where this could possibly go. A lot of people think it could lead to a triple threat at SummerSlam when it comes to all three of these men, but I don't know because they did say that Damian Priest did let go of his gentleman's agreement and that Seth could possibly challenge him for the title again. And maybe Seth might be more focused on that than CM Punk. But I don't know. I'm just hoping that at some point Drew and CM Punk can get to fight each other. I'm really ready to see them beat each other up. But I'm not angry at the build of this feud either because they just seem to be one-upping each other in how much they can hate the other. And this is definitely one of the hottest feuds of the year, right next to Kendrick Lamar and Drake. So I'm thoroughly entertained by this. But then something that Seth also said in his promo that stuck with me was that you keep saying, he told CM Punk, he was like, you keep saying that actions have consequences, but that doesn't apply to you. And I was like, oh, like they really were getting into it. And I just love it. Watching them go back and forth in this promo this week just sort of reminded me of how much we were robbed once CM Punk was injured because we all know that CM Punk and Seth were set to fight each other at WrestleMania this year. And it didn't happen due to the injury and stuff. And could you imagine the wars on the microphone that these men would have had with each other if the injury didn't happen? We would have ate. But the thing is, we still can eat and it's going to be fine. So I'm just really pumped about this stuff. And I'm happy that Pat McAfee is back. I know that he was gone because he was dealing with the loss of his father-in-law, and I want to send love and thoughts and prayers to them and to so many other families that are dealing with loss at this point because it is a very weird period where that's happening with a lot of people. And it was really good to see him because I just feel like him and Michael Cole just have this really great energy to each other. And I really feel that when Pat's gone, I mean, yeah, Michael Cole still has his energy, but it's not really exactly the same. So I am glad that Pat was able to come back and get his stuff popping off with Michael Cole again and just being happy about it. I know some people do have their feelings about Pat McAfee because I think someone actually said they felt like he wasn't that good of a commentator. But my thing is, Michael Cole is the straight man most of the time, and he is the play-by-play, and Pat McAfee is the color. And a part of being the color commentator is being lit. And because he's lit, that's the color. So he's doing his job, and to me, I don't have any issue with it. I love Pat McAfee as a color commentator. He's hysterical to me. I enjoy him. So yeah, I'm glad he's back, and I hope that everything is okay on his family's end. And of course, I love everything going on with the Wyatt Six. They keep sending videotapes to commentary every time Chad Gable gets attacked somehow. And it's like each videotape has an equally disturbing or equally profound message behind them week after week after week. And I'm really enjoying those. And they're very profound and also very emotional, to say the least, because of course you have Bo Dallas sort of feeding into his alter ego Uncle Howdy, who's asking him about the deepest, darkest parts of him that really do affect him in a very real way. Like, I just love where this is going in a cool way. Like, I just love where it's going. And I'm not sure if anybody has noticed this, but in the past 2 weeks, there have been segments with Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy. They've been having these interviews in the old Firefly Funhouse. Like, if you look closer, even though it's dark, you can kind of see the door that says abandoning hope all ye who enter here, like the Firefly Funhouse did, and you can see the windows. It's just really interesting to see, you know, all of this taking place from a storytelling perspective. And I know a lot of wrestling fans and wrestling pundits have, their feelings about supernatural stuff in the age of kayfabe not being much of a thing. But I think this is really cool, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying the story and how it can, possibly unravel from here. I'm just enjoying the ride. Um and whether they get in the ring or not, to me, is irrelevant at this point, because I'm just like, what are your motivations? You keep talking about these false prophets and people utilizing their family for negative gain. Like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Like, where are you going with this? And it seems like they keep targeting Chad Gable, and he is definitely fitting the bill for what they keep talking about, because he has definitely been abusive to his family, the Alpha Academy, and he seems to only want to use them for his personal gain. So, oh yeah, it's going to get real. And at one point, I thought that maybe they would have attacked Chad and stopped him from winning Money in the Bank, but they didn't. But either way, I was like, okay, it's getting really interesting. Then on top of that, Bo Dallas popped up in Adam Pearce's office after Adam Pearce was talking to Chad Gable in the hallway. Are we about to get a Bo Dallas versus Chad Gable match? I hope so. But this was creepy and it was amazing, and I'm definitely here for it. All hail the Rotundas, okay? Yes, I am just so excited about this, and I'm so happy that even in the midst of loss, he's having a moment. Bo is having a moment, and I'm definitely here for it. So I love it. And I believe that's all I liked from Raw. And moving into what I liked this week from NXT, I did like Carmen Petrovic versus Ariana Grace. And the thing that's so funny about them fighting is just the fact that they had won that tag team match against Jasmine Nix and JC Jane at Heatwave. And then, of course, they got to do that in their hometown because they're both from Toronto. And they got to have that moment at Heatwave, only for Ariana Grace to talk about how Carmen was basically the anchor that was holding her down, and how she was really the better Canadian, than her. But what's so funny is Carmen wound up beating her in the match. And it was just like, Ariana, why did you even diss her? why even do that? Like, you didn't even have to be that extra, but she was, and Ariana's an extra beauty queen, so she thinks she's better than everybody. But either way, Carmen showed her what for, and I loved Carmen's gear that she had on that said "We the North" on the back of it, so it was really cool. And I also want to give a shout out to Carmelo, Carmen, and I believe another person who had gear that was paying tribute to the Toronto Raptors. I thought that was really nice. That was the old colors that they used to have back in the day. I thought that was really cool, and that was a nice touch. So big ups to y'all and the Toronto Raptors who got to get that type of shout out. That was really cool. Um, Another thing that intrigued me on NXT was this sort of formation of Fallon Henley, Jasmine Nix, and JC Jane. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be a group, but considering Fallon Henley is just, has this negative vibe to her now, and considering she assisted JC and Jasmine in attacking Sol Ruka after their match or whatever, I was just like, God dang it, man. It's just, I just hate that Sol Ruka got attacked, but if this is going to be a new faction, and I'm low key here for it, because JC Jane has probably been one of the most dastardly heels that NXT has had in terms of their women's division in a minute. And it's really hysterical considering she was sort of seen as like the third girl in Toxic Attraction when Mandy and Gigi were all like, when they were all together. Um, and now she sort of propelled herself to the forefront as sort of the leader with Jasmine Nix. And then if Fallon Henley sort of joins like this third thing, then maybe they could be like a Toxic 3.0. I'm not sure, but either way, this interests me a little bit. So we just got to wait and see what happens there. And also, I wonder how long it's going to be before JCJ uses her face mask to win a match. But we got to wait and see. Another thing that I loved from NXT was the fact that Michin showed up and got to fighting with Jada Parker when Out the Mud and the OC got to fighting with each other in their tag team match. That was really amazing, and I am just here for seeing Michin go back and forth between NXT and SmackDown. And I'm just loving her being featured on multiple brands, because she is really like an ace. Like, she is so talented in so many different ways. And I wanted her, she was definitely one of my top choices to win the women's North American title if they had put it on her. But it's okay now, in a sense. I low-key feel like her and Natalia could be seen in the same vein as two veterans who could very well make the younger women step their game up. But I do want to see Michin have a bigger opportunity than that as well. Like, maybe her as a champion, that's another person who could be a great mid card champion. But we just have to wait and see. But just seeing the beef between her and Jada continue to grow even after their street fight that they had, it's just really hysterical. And I love it. I really, really love it. So I'm here for all of this. And of course, Tuesday, they're all going to be fighting in a mixed tag. So I'm definitely here for the violence. It's going to be cool. And when it comes to the men, my heart swelled when the Rascals reunited. When I tell you, NXTNA is one of the best things to have happened in wrestling in a long time, it really is one of the best things that have happened. Because, of course, for those who may not know, Wes Lee, who is a former North American champion in NXT, was a part of the Must See Kids with Zachary Wentz, who was once known as Nash Carter in WWE before he was released. And so this led to Wes Lee having to be his own man and stand on his own 2 feet, which he has done in a very phenomenal way. I will never, ever, ever, like, there's nothing bad I could ever say about Wes Lee, because he's just so talented. He's so charismatic, and he's a very beautiful man. And he's just been doing a fantastic job swimming on his own. But after Heat Wave, when he lost to Oba Femi in a very crazy fashion, like, because Oba Femi is just a really big dude who just likes to throw people around like they're just dolls or stuff like that. Wesley was kind of lost. He was just like, I don't know what to do now. Maybe I should leave. But before, he could finish saying, what he wanted to say for the rest of his career, he gets interrupted by these beautiful bright green colors with the MSK symbol. And Trey Miguel and Zachary come out there and tell him that he can't quit. And then they come out there and they hug him and they talk about how much they missed each other. And it was just so beautiful. And that was something that people online have been pushing for. Even Wesley's wife, shout out to her, was definitely pushing the agenda of having the Rascals pop up on NXT. And I'm so happy that this happened. I really am happy that it happened. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful moment. They even gave Wesley his Rascals jersey and they did the pose backstage. It was just such a beautiful moment to see them all get back together. And then when you really think, and then what's so crazy is it's like when they were all in TNA together, back in the day, Zachary and Wes got signed and Trey Miguel was kind of by himself for a while. So the idea of all of them being back together, you know, in this way with NXT, it's just such a beautiful thing. This was a very excuse me, can't talk. Heart warming moment. And I hope that it continues to give really great results in the amount of great matches that they can have. I was just so happy to see this happen. It was so amazing. Plus, I got to get a Rascals jersey. They're so cute. Another thing I loved on NXT was Eddie Thorpe DJing during Lexis King's match with Tony D'Angelo for the Heritage Cup title. This was really funny. This feeds into his feud with Lexis, but either way, I just thought this was a really lit part of the show, and just watching the audience members dance to the music that he was DJing, it was just really funny. So yeah, this was funny to me. I liked it. And of course, say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. HWP believes in Joe Hendry. And he popped up as the new tag team partner for Trick Williams, the rightful NXT champion. Because at the beginning of the NXT episode this week, Trick was supposed to tag with Javon Evans against Ethan Page, the fraudulent NXT champion, and Sean Spears. But Brooks Jensen decided to attack Javon Evans, and Javon wasn't cleared to compete, so Trick had to find somebody else. And throughout the night, they kept dropping hints it was going to be Joe Hendry. And then when he popped up, everybody got excited and everybody was singing the song, and it was just really fun. And this was really my first time seeing Joe Hendry in ring, because I don't get to watch TNA as much as I would like, but getting to see him in a ring like this was just really cool, and I can kind of see what all the hype is about. Um, it's not just him and his song. He's a really good athlete. He's really great. And just seeing him, you know, mix it up with everybody was just really cool. And him and Trick Williams won. So that was amazing. And I believe he has a championship match in TNA coming up pretty soon. So good luck to him for that. But if he decides to challenge for the NXT title, I think that would be really interesting. But I'm gonna need for Trick Williams to get his lick back on Ethan Page, because that was so, watching him lose in Toronto made me so upset. I was so upset. Trick Williams is my dude, and I wanted his reign to be like super long and dominant, but dang it, Ethan Page fell into a pin to Javon, and Sean Spears just held him back. And I was just like, Sean, why would you? That was just the dumbest move Sean could have ever done, but whatever. We're here now. I just need Trick Williams to get his title back. But I was still very much happy that Joe Hendry popped up and everybody was dancing and having a good time. So that was cool. So that was all that I liked from NXT. And now moving to what I liked in AEW. My girl, my goat, my love, Mercedes Moné had another celebration for her being a double champion. And she had her security guards out there to sort of stop any interruption that someone by the name of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, would come out and try and ruin. And she was drinking her alcohol and everything. And because they were also in Canada this past Wednesday, she actually called herself the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And when I tell you she got booed, it was so crazy. But I'm just like, if it's anybody who's going to braggadociously call themselves the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, that isn't a heart, it's gonna be Mercedes. And I was here for it, because if it's one thing I'm here for in this season of my life, is black women having extreme levels of confidence in their abilities and being able to back it up. And that's something that Mercedes is able to do. And I love that for her. I love it. Okay. And and she was out there just celebrating and doing her thing. But then out pops Miss, well, not Miss, Dr. Baker. And she's ready to attack um Mercedes. But then she ran Mercedes out of the ring, and Mercedes ran away, and security was not doing a good job of holding her back. And it was just really funny to see this happen. And I just cannot wait to see these two ladies tear the house down at All In. Like, I'm really ready for this fight, because this is really a battle of two superhuman women fighting each other. These are two mega stars in AEW getting ready to fight each other. And this was a dream match that I had imagined happening in my head, but I just did not expect this to happen right now. I'm definitely here for it, and I'm also glad that Dr. Baker is feeling better after everything she was going through with her health. I'm really glad that she's back. And I'm also glad that, she looks amazing with her necklace and her shirt and her jeans and everything. She just looks great. And she continues to make me feel like I never want to eat French fries again. So, the women are slaying, and it's really exciting. And I'm happy that Mercedes and Dr. Britt are getting ready to tear the house down. And yeah, I wanted to also share this picture of me and Dr. Baker when she was the AEW Women's World Champion from back in the day. This was really cool. I'm happy the two have gotten to meet her. And then you had Miss Mariah May, who was low key a student of Timeless Tony Storm, the AEW Women's World Champion. She won the Women's Owen Hart Cup this past Wednesday, beating Willow Nightingale, who we did mention in News and Gossipish. And after she won, she turned on Tony, beat her with the belt, and destroyed her with the shoe. I was not expecting this at all, but at the same time, it didn't surprise me either, because of the fact that when Mariah May made her debut in AEW, and when she was running up on Tony telling her how much of a fan she was, it was definitely giving Mickie James and Trish Stratus from back in the day. And of course, if you know how that rivalry went, you know that eventually Mickie did turn on Trish. Now, mind you, Trish was pushing her away and telling her we need some time apart, and that didn't happen with Tony and Mariah. But I just low key felt like in the back of my mind, Mariah could turn on Tony, and that's exactly what happened. I didn't expect it to happen this soon, but I am glad that it is happening, because now Mariah gets to have her big moment at All In as well. She's going to be fighting Tony for the title. If she wins it, that would be a really cool moment for her, and it would be really great in terms of like someone who worked from the indies and then went to, Japanese wrestling to do her thing there, and then now she's at AEW and on this large platform, and that would be great for her. But yeah, like, this was really sick. And then when she was hugging her and kissing her with the blood on her face, people in the audience were chanting at her, "You sick F, you sick F," like Fuck. And I was just like, whoa. Like, it was probably one of the best turns I've seen this year. I enjoyed it very much so. And I'm ready to see them fight. Like, women's wrestling is popping off. I'm really excited about it. So those were the things that I liked from Dynamite. And then, of course, they did announce this past Saturday that Mercedes Moné has an open challenge for her TBS title, and Nyla Rose answered the challenge. And I'm really excited about that, because Dynamite is having their 250th episode. So what better way to mark your 250th episode than to have the champ Mercedes go up against a pillar of AEW in Nyla Rose. I'm really here for it. So this is going to be great. Two black women tearing the house down. It's going to be awesome. So I'm here for it. And another match that I do want to highlight from 2 weeks ago is the Beast versus the Classmaster for the WoW World Championship. This match was really good, so I do recommend that you watch it. But of course, if you want to hear more of what I had to say about this match, you can definitely go on my YouTube channel, and watch Steph and Capp Talk WoW, where we talk about WoW superheroes. And this match was definitely a battle of the powerhouses for this WoW World title, which is, of course, a prestigious title in women's wrestling, no matter what anybody says. Um, it was really great. These two women studied each other, and of course, there was a winner, but I'm not going to spoil who it was here. But please continue to watch WoW. And I would also like to take this time to say, if you pop up in our comments and ask us on our live why we continue to watch WoW and talk about how stupid it is, you will be blocked. You will be blocked and you will be deleted. Um, we're going to continue to cover WoW until we feel like we're going to stop. It's worth covering because it's an all women show. It's worth covering because these women are talented and actively wrestle in places even outside of WoW, and they deserve the coverage. And if you can't stand it, then don't watch our video. If you don't like it, then don't watch the video. Don't comment on our video. It's that simple. We gonna cover it because we like it and we like women's wrestling. Shout out to Katrina for everything that she does for the show, and everything that she does in wrestling as well. But yeah, we're gonna keep covering WoW, and if you don't understand why, then maybe you don't need to be watching our post show. Leave us alone. Don't be weird. Now, moving into what I liked on SmackDown this week, I was personally satisfied when Tiffany, of course, came out and started the show by celebrating her Money in the Bank contract win. And then Bayley came out there to sort of give her a piece of her mind. And then Nia Jax came out there because, of course, Nia is Tiffany's friend at this point. And something that I loved that my boyfriend, shout out to him, brought to my attention was the fact that Bayley outright asked Tiffany, what's going to happen if I slip on a banana peel and I lose my title to Nia? Are you going to cash in on her? And I was like, not her asking my question. I was like, not her asking my question. Like, that was just the craziest thing ever. And I just loved it. It was just really, it was personally satisfying for me to hear Bayley ask that on television to Nia and to Tiffany. And then of course later on in the night you had Tiffany sort of acting like she wanted to cash in, but then Nia got in her face, was like, girl, what are you doing? And then Tiffany was just pretending like she wasn't going to do it. But at the end of the day, they're friends, and then there's championships. Which one are you going to choose, Tiff? Which one are you going to choose? But yeah, I am very excited about that. And then, of course, BBL Bayley. BBL Bayley. The fact that Nia called her BBL Bayley just sent me, because I'm just like, girl, that's insane. Bayley is a beautiful woman inside and out. And that's all I'm going to say about that. um, that was just hysterical to me. So, yeah. Then, of course, we have the blessed reunion of the big three: Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi. Of course, they were backstage after Naomi's match with Blair Davenport. And just seeing all three of them on my screen healed my mind and healed my soul in all of the ways in which it needed to be healed. And I feel like even though all of these women could definitely stand alone, and even though we have Jade and Bianca as a tag team, I just feel like since WrestleMania, there's not, I feel like there isn't a big enough deal made about the fact that these women were united and in a sense still are united. Like, I feel weird about the fact that they had a whole match at WrestleMania and didn't have any merchandise with their faces on it, like as the big three. Like, I feel like there should be more done about the hype that these women bring in terms of representation and in terms of the power that they all wield as a team. Like, even though we haven't really seen all three of them be a team since WrestleMania season, there's just so much power in seeing them on screen together. And I feel like that needs to be fed into a whole lot more. It really does. Because the idea, like all of these women together, it just heals my mind. It heals my soul and it heals my eyes. Like, it's just so refreshing to see all three of these black women standing together. Like, give them more, is all I'm saying. Give them more content, give them more time together on TV, give them more everything. I know Jade and Bianca, are gunning towards the women's tag titles again, and that's cool. But I would love to see Naomi sort of come out and be their moral support. In their matches. Like, I would love to see that. I would love to see them be Naomi's moral support in her matches. Like, I just need to see more of them together on screen outside of backstage stuff. I just need more big three content. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I just love seeing all three of these women together. It's healing to my soul. Also, let me just say, Chelsea Green really bookended this week by not only having the craziest spot in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, but selling it on SmackDown with a bedazzled neck brace. And I just want Chelsea Green to be as successful as she knows how to be for the rest of her life. Just just be amazing. I just wish her nothing but great things and great blessings for the rest of her life, cuz she is just a treasure. She's a treasure. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And of course, if you haven't already, please go on the YouTube channel and watch my Q&A with her and just see how awesome it was for me to ask her one question. Just one question, but she still gave it her everything. And that's just something I love about her. So, give Chelsea everything. And that's all I have to say about that. And when it comes to the men, I'm just ready for Austin Theory and Grayson Waller to break up. I am so ready for them to officially break up and for Austin to have his babyface run, because they had a rematch for those tag titles against DIY and then they lost. But they lost because here again, Grayson Waller pulled Austin Theory in the way and he took the brunt of the beating. And it's just like, I'm going to need for Austin Theory to really get it through his mind that Grayson Waller does not care about him fully. And I feel like the sooner he gets that through his mind, the better he'll be able to move on and actually have, his own cool little career where he's a face. And I've been one of those people that have been really pushing for Austin Theory to be a face, because I feel like since he's been on the main roster both times, he has been a heel. And it's been cool for a minute, but I feel like, there's something more to him on a good guy standpoint that we're just not tapping into just yet. So I feel once they finally separate, I just can't wait to see what he's going to give us at this point, because I'm just ready for the rift to happen so Austin can reach his full potential, or at least we can see if he can reach his full potential as a babyface. Like, I'm just really here for it. I just feel like there's something there that we haven't seen with him yet, and I just can't wait to see that happen. So that's all of what I liked in wrestling this week. And now we're just gonna go to my announcements. So, of course, if you haven't already, please tune in to Steph and Cat Talk Wow, held by HWP and In Cat We Trust every Wednesday, unless otherwise stated, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, where me and Katrina talk about the latest episode or episodes of WoW Women of Wrestling Superheroes. We do have a past double dose episode that we did do Friday, so please check that episode out. We had so much fun doing it, so please check it out. And also watch WoW Superheroes if you haven't already. Go on their website at wowe.com and see what channel it comes on for you. Or if you just want to watch it online, you can do that as well. Watch it on YouTube, or you can watch it on Hulu or on Pluto TV, and just get in on the action. If you love women's wrestling in a very different format, you can watch the show and just get in on the action. And then after you watch it, you can watch our post show. And of course, check out our interviews that we have with lots of the WoW superheroes, including the one that Katrina most recently did with top tiers Coach Campanelli and Crush, formerly known as Candy Crush. Please check that out on her YouTube channel and just continue to support that vibe that we keep going on. And of course, if you're looking to book a color commentator, a panelist, a writer, or a host to be a guest on a show, or if you want to be a guest on HWP, you can email me at hardywrestlingpodcast@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram or on X/Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy, or at Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram, or on X/Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. If you need the addresses for the ats for Instagram and Twitter, they're scrolling on the bottom of the screen if you're watching. So please don't hesitate to reach out and DM your girl if you want to book her for any litany of wrestling things. I'm trying to get more of my voice out there. As you can see, I'm willing to do the work, and I'm also willing to travel, even to distant lands I've never been to before, to advance in wrestling. So please book your girl, book your girl, book your girl. And of course, speaking of bookings, I will be commentating alongside Sahara 7 for Girls Wrestle, and their event called The Blackout in September in Daytona Beach, Florida. So if you're in the Daytona Beach, Florida area, please buy your tickets for that. And also sponsorships are available for it as well. So if you look up BGW, Black Girls Wrestle, get in touch with Omega Hart, and he will be able to talk to you about sponsorships. You still have time, because of course that's at the end of September, and we're in July now. But please message Black Girls Wrestle and figure out how you can get involved with the action. I'm definitely honored to be on the commentary team for this event, this all Black female event. So please, please, please support it and buy your tickets for it. It's gonna be cool. And of course, read all of my writings on Daily DDT. I am working on new stuff since I've gotten back. There's so much creative inspiration that I have gotten since I have taken my trip to Money in the Bank and back. But of course, this is my latest article, my most recent article, which was Megan the Stallion, and why she should be the next mainstream star WWE should bring in. So if you haven't read that already, please go on dailyddt.com, look up my name, and read all of my articles. I love writing, and I love how it's a part of my wrestling lifestyle now. So please read all my articles and be on the lookout for anything new that I might have coming down the pipe. And of course, please buy my merchandise on foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast. That's foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast. You can buy this t-shirt, which celebrates the love of Bianca Belair and Montez Ford, the Beyonces shirt. And you can also purchase the Alabama wrestling t-shirt that I wore in all of my videos that I did for Money in the Bank weekend, which of course celebrates wrestling icons who are from the state of Alabama, just like me, like Sensational Sherry, like Teddy Long, like Kayla Braxton, who did just leave WWE recently, Paul Bearer, AQA, Fuego del Sol, and Deborah. So please buy that. And the podcast logo is on the back of the t-shirt, and they're available in all sizes. You can also buy hoodies if you're into that as well, and you can buy them in the colors red and black. So please buy my merch at foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And I believe those are all the announcements that I have. So thank you guys so much for watching live or watching this whenever you can. And of course, continue to follow me and be on the lookout for anything else that I might have going on, because you just never know where you might see me pop up. Because of course, sometimes you really do have to pop out and show. But I'm not going to finish the rest of that statement. But either way, thank you guys so much for your love and support, for all of your nice messages and all the sharing of my clips that you've done. And just continue to just support your girl as she continues to, as I continue to try to be, a good light, a good working light in this wrestling space. And not go crazy with it. Just continue to support me as I do the things. So, of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy, also known as her, according to Carmelo Hayes. And until next time, bye, y'all.